Hi guys, welcome back to Vue for Beginners, and today we are adding UI. We're going to add a text object which is going to say whether we can interact with something or not. Last time we made this interactable drawer, and we're going to add a bit of functionality to the first-person character blueprint so it can tell when we can interact with it. First of all, let's do the UI side of things. Let's go to Content, First Person BP, Blueprints, and add right-click User Interface Widget. We're going to name our widget just UI, because it's the only thing in our game related to UI. It should be fine. Double-click on that. You'll see a different window. We'll go over the things at some later point, but for now, what you want is go to Common and drag text into the viewport. It will say text black, but we don't care about that. Just position it somewhere sort of in the middle, just eyeball it. And if you can see it here, probably can't, but when you go to content, there's text, it says text block, and further to the right it says bind. Click on bind and click on create binding. You'll be greeted with this new event graph, or this is actually a function. So you'll created get text 0 function for us, which you can rename if you want. Just call it get text. This is kind of very similar to how JavaFX bindings work. Like when something changes, it's going to call this get text function in order to obtain the up-to-date value, which is going to be then shown here where it says text block. And if you haven't done JavaFX or haven't used it, then just don't worry about what I've said. It's essentially a function to retrieve the most up-to-date value in order to display here. And we're going to come back to that because I don't think we can do it just yet. Let's compile and save. Let's go back to first-person character. Somewhere here, if you've followed previous tutorials, you should have something like this. Since we already covered these bits, I'll just very quickly recap that this branch is true when there was a hit from the raycast, from the line trace to anything. And then here the actor was cast to interactive drawer when we hit with our line trace exactly the drawer that we're looking at right here. So if cast failed, then we want to say you can't use anything, or actually just don't show anything to the user, no prompt. But if cast succeeded, then we should be able to say you can use this thing. So let's create a new variable. Go to variables section, click plus on the variable, call it can use. It's going to be a Boolean variable, and it is Boolean by default. Compile, by default it's false, which is fine. Now what we want is do this entire line trace thing on tick, but hopefully not on every tick, because that's going to be a performance hit. So let's create event tick. Going to create a delay so that there is delay between us checking the line trace. 0.2, yeah, that'll do. I'm going to copy and paste this entire thing. Copy pasting stuff in blueprints is the same process as copy pasting code, so you don't want to do that for long term. If it's just something you want to kind of prototype quickly, it's fine, but long-term maintenance is going to be a problem. So eventually we'll talk about functions and how to isolate these things into functions. For now, that should do. So we've got a delay. We do a line trace from where the player is looking at. And if it's true, and if it's a drawer, then set can use to true, right? Yeah. If cast failed, or if it's false, we didn't hit anything with the ray, then we set can use to false. I think that's what you should have. Let's see. Compile, save. So we've done this bit. Now we want to get the value of can use in our UI. Let's do get actor by class, because we know that there's only one get actor off class. There's only one first person character, and it's us, so it should be fine. Your get text should call this first, which will then call that thing. And then this is our first person character object, which we can then get can use. If it's true, then let's select then. Select depending on what we want. So we want to make text, right? Because it accepts, this thing accepts text type. So the value is, what's the value? Just use. If this can use thing is true, then it goes here, and if it's false, break link, then nothing, because we don't want to display anything if it's false, right? And that goes here. Compile that, save. One last thing is to instantiate our UI. We've created a blueprint, but we never added the UI to the game. We can do that in blueprints, and then click open level blueprint. It's like a blueprint that works for the entire level. So what we're going to do here is make our widget, create widget, there we go. Class is our UI. We know it's the only thing that we've created. We do this create UI widget on the begin play event, which is the very first thing to be called. And then that gives us an instance of our UI, which we're going to add to the viewport. And that should add our UI to the game. Let's try. Nice. So you can see the text use, which appears only if I'm kind of looking at this thing. And then if I'm not looking at that thing, then it doesn't appear, which is good, which is what we wanted. You might want to make text a bit bigger. Designer text block. Should I offset size X, size Y? Oh, it's the size of the canvas thing. Where's the font size? There we go. That'll do. I made it too big. Let's make it 108 or something. File, save, go back. Yeah, that's better. so you can actually see the text. And this is the range. We've made the range pretty big, but you can reduce that if you want to. Here you have the distance of your line. Right, so in this video we covered a little bit about UI, how to create a text object within the UI widget, add it to the viewport, and then also update the text content to match what you want to display, whether it's number of coins that the player has, number of kills the player has achieved, or something like interacting with in-game actors. In the next video, we'll cover something slightly different, so stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.